Hey there, this is Melissa Yeager. I am a logo and brand designer, and today I am here to give you a peek behind the scenes at Sidecar's vertical style guide template. So I'm going to start out by walking you through the vertical style guide as you'll receive it when you would purchase it and download it. And then I will go ahead and take you through how I use it personally in my brand and business. So that said, let's dig in. So when you first purchase the vertical style guide template, this is what you will get. You will get this lovely vertical seamless template, which if you're anything like me, you purchased it or are thinking of purchasing it because you love the idea of having your style guides delivered for simpler brands in one seamless long document on one page. And you're also a little bit curious on how the folks at Focus Lab structure their style guidelines and what type of information they think it's important to include. So for both of those reasons, that's kind of why I purchased the template. And once you get in here, you'll notice that there are detailed sections for different kinds of information. So you'll notice we have the logo at the top, and then we have this great hero image with a quote, and from there it kind of digs into the different aspects of the brand. So one thing that's really important about the style guide template is you're not only listing out the different elements within the brand, but you're also exhibiting how the brand will be used. So different places like showing quotations and showing the different type hierarchy within the document itself. You are exhibiting how your client should be using the brand. So we've got sections for including the logo and different marks for the brand, the anatomy and rationale behind said mark, your typography hierarchy, and additional brand assets, which may include icons, which could include different photography prompts and things like that, which you'll see down here. And throughout, they have this really great pacing of including full width images and breaking it up with some nice large quotes and type and things like that. Space to include your color as well as the different color values for the brand. And then a section for voice and web presence and web grid. And notice it just a lot of sections here that you might not necessarily be including in your brand guidelines, depending on how robust the identity you're creating is and how much work you're doing with your client. A lot of these, since I focus more on the visual identity, I don't use the web presence and live mockups and things like that quite as much. Some clients don't have a tagline. Avatars I tend to include in every client, but for the most part, this is a really great comprehensive template where I've found that I've then taken it and adapted it to what I usually include for my clients, and I've customized it to fit a little bit better with my brand and to look cohesive with the things that I would send my clients. So all of that said, let's take a look at one of the style guides that I created for one of my clients. So first I'll show you an abbreviated style guide where the visual identity isn't quite as robust as some of the other ones. But first let's start with Function Coffee Labs. Notice that I've tweaked how the logo and title are displayed at the top, and I'm using the actual logo at the top of the document. Notice with this hero image up here at the top, I'm also taking this master mark with this great lockup, and I'm including different images from the brand strategy and style portion of my process from way in the beginning when I first started working with my clients. So I like including that as a hint in the background that reminds the client of where we started and how far we've come. And I also like including these brand descriptors here. So then you can see how that logo is working and the way that it is spaced out and everything. Logo, different variations and the hierarchy within the brand. So I have master logo, primary logo, secondary, and the different marks and so on. So here I'm giving a little bit of insight into this botanical shield element for the brand and talking about the meaning behind that, because it's important to remind your client for after when they might be coming back years from now and being like, I know that there's importance to these different elements of the mark for my logo, and I don't quite remember how the designer phrased it. So you don't want them to be paging all the way back through emails and trying to find those. You want them to be able to easily access that information. So including it in the style guidelines is great. So you're going beyond showing the client how to use the brand, and you're telling them the key elements and giving them key talking points for introducing their brand to the world as well. So beyond this, I also have additional brand assets. These are some other lockup elements and marks and things like that. I have my type hierarchy and the different typefaces that this brand will be using. I've got an example of how that type hierarchy and the brand would play together. I'm including my color palette, and then the digital presence, and then a nice little message from me at the bottom with one of the marks from the brand, and then just like a tagline at the bottom saying that I created it for said brand. So this is kind of the bare minimum of things I would include in a style guideline for one of my clients, and now I will show you a little bit more of a robust version. So we'll look at Creative Picnic next. You notice that the brand looks completely different in this scenario, but the template remains the same, which will be the case for you and your clients as well, where I'm still using the logo up here. I'm still using different images from my brand strategy and style portion of the process and the mark, but because I'm translating the brand itself into this style guide template, it looks completely different and feels right for the brand at hand. So brand descriptors, an example of the logo type of the brand in use with the custom brand pattern I created for them. So I think it's really important to show how the brand works and to give examples of it in use, as well as, again, showing the elements separately as well. So the separate logos and marks and whatnot, the meaning behind the mark, and then we have the custom icons I created in this scenario. They were food-related icons to give a subtle nod to the picnic aspect of the name of the brand. We have type hierarchy, an example of that in use, so your client isn't lost when it comes to, like, I know that Playfair is one of my fonts, but how the heck do I use it? And then we have color, again, with the different values that they would need. Examples of the different tiles of the different patterns I created for this brand. And yes, I created quite a few patterns for them and just went a little nuts, but I'm obsessed with all of them. And then we have this another kind of like block where I'm separating and adding some pacing to the template just to give like a little bit of a breather so that it's not just information. You're exhibiting how the brand is working, but you're also giving your clients a nice visual break that's like, that looks nice. So I prefer to include some solid blocks showing how the brand works and also just as a nice kind of eye candy element within the template as well. And then at the bottom, we have the digital presence where you show the client how the brand would translate to a favicon, and then also social media images. And I have this same message at the bottom for my client, sending them off with best wishes and telling them what a pleasure it's been working with them. And then again, incorporating one of the marks and the brand into the footer of the style guide as well. Finally, I'll show you one more example of another brand that I created. So this one is Fertilus. This one is a lifestyle and wellness brand that is focused around a blog right now. So this is the mark. These are the images that were pulled from the brand strategy, brand descriptors, the tagline of the brand with this botanical ornament underneath it, which is one of the lockups within the brand. Then we have the logos and all the different marks and everything, which there are quite a few different versions. We have the rationale behind the logo. We have the reasoning and symbolism behind this frame, type hierarchy, an example of that type in use, the color palette, as well as the different color values for the brand, an example of a quote, and then we have that digital presence and my message, and then my footer again. So as you can see, as I've mentioned in the past, each of these style guides looks completely different, but in the sense they're all using the same template. I've also taken what Sidecar created and tweaked it so that it works best for my brand. So it feels right when my clients are receiving it and looks right based on everything they've received from me in the past. So I highly recommend the Vertical Style Guide template to you. It's really great when you're not creating an all-encompassing really robust set of brand style guidelines. When you need to communicate the essentials to your client, it keeps everything seamless on one page, and it's also helpful to see how someone else approaches it and what they're including in their style guide and how they would phrase things. So I can't recommend it enough. You can find this template as well as many other amazing products on Sidecar's website, and hit them up if you have any questions. And you can also find me at melissayeager.com. Thanks so much for joining me for this short video, and cheers!